have been a lot of Legend of Zelda games, and they all have their own individual stories to them. And each one's story seems to be tied to another, like the Wind Waker is tied to the Ocarina of Time, and the Ocarina of Time is tied to Majora's Mask, and the list goes on. But is there a way to put all these stories together and make one huge Legend of Zelda story? It has to be made that way. I mean, they were originally intended to be that way. Zelda 1, Zelda 2, Zelda 3, I mean, then we jumped around, did some other crazy stuff. So, what if we put all the Zelda games together? What do you think, Link me?
Do what you want, dweeb.
It's time. You better draw this out. You're gonna need a new, clean piece of paper. And Sharpie Man!
Sharpie Man!
Now, let's start with a simple game like the Ocarina of Time. Now, that one has a 7-year span. In the beginning, you play as young Link, and when you draw the Master Sword, you get teleported 7 years into your future, so you're more powerful to beat Ganon, right? So there's a 7-year bracket we have to draw. And at the end of the game, Zelda sends you back to relive your childhood, so obviously there can be games in between. Let's make the 7-year bracket here. Okay, 1 year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7th year? There. Ocarina of Time. There we go. Now, there were 2 direct sequels to this game. We have the Wind Waker, and we have Majora's Mask. But Majora's Mask would be inside this time span, so let's throw this in here quickly. This game only took 3 days, so I guess that doesn't matter within 7 years, so Majora's Mask. Now, instead of jumping right ahead to Wind Waker, let's just follow this up through here. Now, let's see. Right at the end of Majora's Mask, because the original intention of all this time in between here, Link is searching for Zelda, the childhood form. At Majora's Mask, he gets sidetracked and yeah, yada yada. At the end, he's riding his pony, horse, off again to look for Zelda. And he finds Impa, that person who they don't tell you who it is in Zelda 2. And Impa, he saves her from a bunch of who-knows monster people, and she tells Link that Zelda was captured by Ganondorf. And that would be the first Legend of Zelda. I spelled that wrong. Let's just say Zelda 1. Then obviously Zelda 2. Then what after that? There were 2 games, Legend of Zelda Oracle of the Seasons and Oracle of the Ages, which kind of warp Link to some far-off land, so they could go anywhere. Let's just plop them in here to take up time. Oracle Ages plus Seasons. Okay, well, then, obviously you'd think you'd have Zelda 3 in here somewhere, but in Legend of Zelda 2, you're pretty much restoring the crystals to these castles, and it does something or whatever. And in Zelda 3, you're restoring crystals, so maybe that's the same crystals. If they are, obviously that would come afterwards. So, put in, instead of writing out Link to the Past, let's just put in Zelda 3. Okay, there. Now, in Zelda 3, there are 7 sages who you're pretty much saving, and they have some 7 wise man seal or blah blah blah. And in the Ocarina of Time at the end, there's still 7 sages. But in Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, which probably should have gone in here too, Ganon kills one of the sages. Okay. If that were so, how would he be up at the end of here? Then what the heck happened with Twilight Princess? Would that go here at the end of this? I guess so. So let's plop that afterwards. Twilight Princess. Now, as it turns out, there was a direct sequel to Zelda 3 on the Game Boy Advance. It was called Link's Awakening, so good thing we have some space here. Let's just plop that in there. Link's Awakening. Okay, there. Good. Link is one busy boy. You'd think he'd get a little sick of doing this kind of thing. Or he'd be smarter and he would keep his items while he goes by. Why does he take his hero's bow and his hook shot and claw shot and hide them in little treasure chests in faraway places, and then hide the key to that chest somewhere else, hide the key to the door to that chest in some other room that's hidden somewhere else that has another key to the door that goes somewhere else? Why can't he be smart and keep his stuff and his health too? Every game you start out with 3 lives. Health, hearts, lives, whatever you want to call them. Okay, now, a long time after this Link's era, I guess you could say, there was another Link, the Wind Waker Link. So let's go into those sequels. But afterwards, there was a long time span. So let's just say there's a line separating these two. Now, directly afterwards, there was the Wind Waker. And then a direct sequel to the Wind Waker was Phantom Hourglass. Get that in there. Phantom Hourglass. Okay, now there was another game, the Minish Cap. See where that would go. Well, the Minish Cap, most people think would go first, because that's where Link gets his hat, but let's see. In the Ocarina of Time, this Link gets his clothes from the Kokiri Forest and those children around there. Now, in the Wind Waker, once all the kids around that island reach a certain age, they get to wear the clothing that the Hero of Time wore. So that's how this Link got his clothes once you reach that certain age. Who's the guy in the Minish Cap? It's a different Link! Okay, so we have another time span up here.